Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's ceremony. I am Tech Sergeant Carl Strnitsky, and I'll be your narrator for today. Our presiding officer is the Vice Commander, United States Air Force Warfare Center, Brigadier General Evan L. Pettis. Today, the reins of responsibility for the 99th Air Base Wing will technically pass from Colonel Todd R. Dyer to Colonel Joshua D. DeMotts. However, due to an unexpected COVID situation over the weekend, Colonel Dyer and his family will not be able to attend. So, we now officially welcome you to the 99th Air Base Wing Assumption of Command. Today's ceremony is deeply rooted in military tradition and demonstrates to all the change of leadership in the 99th Air Base Wing. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for ruffles and flourishes, presentation of the colors, the national anthem by Tech Sergeant Kyle Carnegie, and invocation by Chaplain Sears.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join me in prayer. Almighty God, we give thanks for this ceremony, for this tradition that is part of our rich military history. We ask for your blessing on this morning's event. We especially give thanks for Colonel Dyer's example as a leader, a time in which he led with distinction during a global pandemic, led the 99th Air Base Wing to remarkable accomplishments. As he looks back at the past 2 years of command, may have a sense of pride and satisfaction of a job well done. It would also be remiss if we didn't remember the support and the sacrifices of his family too. Therefore, I ask that you would bless his wife Katie and their children Camden, Ella, and William for their encouragement and support throughout his career, especially during his time here at Nellis. As Colonel DeMotts assumes command today, may he lead with excellence and boldness. When faced with challenges, grant him discernment and guidance to carry out his increased expectations. Be with him and his loved ones as support him in this demanding task. I ask that you especially bless his wife Patty and their children Garrett and Addie. As he takes on command today, may Colonel DeMotts gain a deep satisfaction that comes from a job well done and facing new opportunities. And now I ask for your continued blessing and protective watch on all those who are deployed today in defense of our freedoms. Keep them and their loved ones safe during their time apart. And may all of us service members present today make the most of our positions that we've been given as we serve our great nation. May we inspire others by our examples to achieve even greater accomplishments. May we lead those around us with character that honors our country and our fellow airmen. For this I ask, amen.
Thank you, Sergeant Carnegie and Chaplain Sears. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our civilian and military distinguished guests in attendance today. General Pettis' wife, Kirsten. Watching virtually, Colonel and Mrs. Dyer and their children, Camden, Ella, and William. Colonel DeMotts' wife, Patty, with their children, Garrett and Adeline. Nevada State Senator, District 1, Miss Pat Spearman. Representing Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Miss Alana Simpson. Representing Congresswoman Titus, Mr. Daniel Carranza. Representing Senator Jackie Rosen, Mr. Brendan Vargas. Representing Congressman Stephen Horsford, Mr. Larry Hom. Representing Congresswoman Susie Lee, Mr. Andrew Holbert. The Commander, 57th Wing, Brigadier General Michael Drawley. The Assistant Adjutant General of the Nevada Air National Guard, Brigadier General Troy Havner with his wife Vicki. Honorary Commander for the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the 8th Weapons Squadron here at Nellis Air Force Base, Mr. David Ratcliffe. And last but not least, the 99th Air Base Wing Honorary Commander, Mr. Alan Diskin. We'd also like to extend a warm welcome to all their senior leaders, community, coalition, and joint partners, friends, family, the men and women of the 99th Air Base Wing, and all of Team Nellis in attendance today. Ladies and gentlemen, General Pettis.
Well, good morning. Just like to say a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, to Team Nellis, to the men and women of the 99th Air Base Wing. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to recognize the transfer of command from Colonel Todd Face Dyer to Colonel Josh DeMotts. But before we go ahead with that, I want to pay a special thanks to the Dyer family watching virtually and to the DeMotts family in the front row. Uniformed service members get the focus of almost all these types of events, but families make enormous contributions that we often fail to recognize adequately. In fact, I don't think we can recognize them adequately. We could write books about the level of selflessness and sacrifice that it takes to be a military spouse. Military children also pay a heavy price in service to their nation. So to the Dyer family, through the cameras, Katie, Camden, Ella, and Will, thank you for all you've given of yourselves to make it possible for Colonel Todd Dyer to command this wing over the last 2 years. And to Patty, Garrett, and Adeline, thank you for all you've done to get Josh here today ready to take up that mantle. So really appreciate it, and just I'd like to give a hand to the Dyer and DeMotts family. What a perfect setting for this event. Nellis Air Force Base is the heart and soul of the Combat Air Forces, and it's the home of a collection of elite teams. The Thunderbirds, this hangar that we're in today, is one of those teams. They're the owners of this amazing facility, and I can't believe that we got to use it. There's lots of other elite teams at Nellis Air Force Base as well, and 99th Air Base Wing provides the skeleton, the muscle, and the sinew that enables those teams to function. The Air Force is extremely cognizant that it takes an elite team to support elite teams. Therefore, the position of 99th Air Base Wing Commander is one of the Air Force's most prestigious wing command billets, and is filled by officers handpicked from the service's finest level leaders, which makes today truly a special occasion, although bittersweet. The outgoing commander, Colonel Todd Face Dyer, couldn't be with us today due to illness, as you know, but I wanted to spend some time talking about both Face and his bride, Katie, nonetheless, because today we're saying farewell, despite their absence, to an amazing leadership team. Todd and Katie poured their hearts and souls into this wing during an incredibly difficult 2 years. Wing command's hard enough no matter where you do it. It's even harder when you're leading the team that supports all the crazy stuff that happens here at Nellis Air Force Base, the heartbeat of the tactical and operational Air Force. And if you're trying to do that in a global pandemic, it's really, really hard. But Face and Katie conquered that challenge, and they did it with absolute class. During his command, Face overcame the normal hurdles that any 99th Air Base Wing commander must clear. Good luck, Josh. Like hosting repeated waves of thousands of visitors from across the globe who come here to train, and supporting half the senior leaders in the Air Force who converge here all at once during Air Combat Command's annual Weapons and Tactics Conference and the C2 Summit, most recently during the height of the Delta surge, no less, and hosting hundreds of visits from very high-ranking officials from across the United States and other governments around the world. But what made Face's command so special in my mind was not the aplomb with which he handled all those challenges. It's what he did for the airmen and families of this team. He took care of them, and he took on seemingly impossible obstacles to do so. And while he was doing that, he made impacts across the Department of Defense. One brief example, we have a dorm shortage here at Nellis, and it's not going to be solved anytime soon. And because of that, it means that our youngest airmen, who are the lowest on the pay scale, get moved out into the economy, an expensive economy, much more quickly than we would prefer by Department of Air Force policy. They're establishing their households for the first time, and that's not cheap. So Face's engagement on their behalf resulted in them getting a partial dislocation allowance, which was money from the government to help them start their new households. And not only did his engagement on their behalf raise attention to that issue, it raised it across the Department of Defense. And now every service member in the Department of Defense who's ordered to leave base housing for that or other reasons gets that same allowance. And that's all because of Face's, the things that he initiated. At least that's the way I see it. He did a myriad of other things to improve life for airmen and families, to include paving the way for a new on-base high school. And yes, Face, I'm being somewhat sarcastic when I say theoretically, someday, maybe a traffic light at the landing gate entrance to base housing. Maybe. We'll see. There are cones, so we'll see. Katie was extremely active despite COVID. She revitalized the key spouse program, engaged with the Spouses Club, volunteered at the Airman's Attic and the thrift shop, and took on far more than her fair share of work at home to make it possible for Face to lead this team so well. So Katie and Face, you're not with us today. I know you're watching. You two have been absolutely amazing, and the entire Air Force has benefited from what you've done at Nellis. So on behalf of Major General Cunningham and the men and women of the Warfare Center, we thank you, we're proud of you, and we wish you all the best in the next phase of your Air Force journey, which will be in Washington, D.C., where Face tackles another big challenge and another big job, serving as the executive officer to the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. So losing a great team is hard, but it's this loss comes with a silver lining because there's another great team ready to stand in the gap, and that's Josh and Patty DeMotts. Josh is a very accomplished Air Force officer who's been leading airmen and taking care of families since the very beginning of his Air Force career as a civil engineer. And he has a very broad background that makes him perfectly suited to the challenges ahead of him at Nellis, to include serving enormously successful tours as the Civil Engineering Squadron Commander at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado and the Mission Support Group Commander at Shepherd Air Force in Texas. He shined in both those roles. And he has broad joint and multinational experience as the Homeland Defense Branch Chief at NORAD Northcom, and later the Chief of Capabilities Integration at the same. Josh knows the Air Base Wing extremely well because he's been making big impacts here for the past year-ish as the Vice Wing Commander. That means that he's familiar with the organization and challenges, and he'll take the baton in full stride, which will greatly benefit from that with Patty running by his side as well. Patty is a retired Air Force officer, so she served as both an active duty member and a spouse, and she knows well the challenges that come with command. She's an amazing person, and we're lucky to have her. Very glad to retain her in this role. So, although it's sad to lose Faith and Katie, we're deeply blessed to have Josh and Patty to pick up where they left off. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to move this show down the road. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, General Pettis. At this time, I will read some prepared remarks from the outgoing commander of the 99th Air Base Wing, Colonel Todd R. Dyer. Thanks for the kind words and officiating today, Brigadier General Pettis. Team Nellis, community partner, friends, and family, the past 2 years in the 99th Air Base Wing have been amazing, and Katie and I have been blessed to be part of this organization. We wish we could be here today to celebrate the passing of the Guidon, but unfortunately, after 28 months, the COVID finally got me. Don't worry, though. It's a mild case, and I'm drinking a Bloody Mary on the back porch right now. It always hits me when I sit down to write out a speech for a change of command and reflect on what we've accomplished in 2 years. Pandemic aside, the 99th supports all operations for the most elite units in the Air Force, executing operational test, advanced training, and tactics development. Together, we held 41 large force exercises, 2 weapons and tactics conferences, and enabled the development of 560 new weapons officers while supporting 5 wings and 52 tenant units. That is our mission. Our medical group deployed hundreds of medics in support of Operation Allies Refuge, launched numerous small COVID support teams across the United States to help overwhelmed civilian medical facilities, attained clearance for civilian EMS to deliver critical patients to our hospital, and is close to attaining the Air Force's first Level 3 trauma certification. Our mission support group was the foundation for everything I've already mentioned and also supports our airmen and families' quality of life. A few highlights are the renovated dining facility, the food truck on the flight line, a resort-style pool, and the first DoD tattoo parlor, and an approval for an on-base charter high school. Thank you to an outstanding lineup of group commanders, squadron commanders, senior NCOs, frontline supervisors, and airmen who lead across the 99th Air Base Wing every day. I didn't do these things. You did. A special thanks to Alan Diskin, the 99th Air Base Wing's honorary commander, for being a great wingman and friend. I will miss the people for sure, but I will also miss the mission. You may have heard the saying, as goes Nellis, so goes the Air Force. It's true. You're all in great hands with the DeMotts family. They understand mission, and Josh and Patty are more than ready to jump into the breach. We wish the best for all. Fight on. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the publishing of the orders and the assumption of command. Attention to orders. Under the provisions of the Air Force Instruction 51-509, Special Order Number Golf 22021, dated 2 June by direction of the President, Colonel Joshua D. DeMotts is appointed Commander, 99th Air Base Wing, Air Combat Command, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, effective 6 June 2022. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 99th Air Base Wing, Colonel Joshua DeMotts.
So I'm going to call a little bit of an audible here. I really want our narrator to just come and read my speech. I think his voice is far better than mine. Face can attest to that out there in virtual land. Before I get to this specific speech, I think a change of command is mostly about the outgoing person and saying thanks for all the things that they've done. The new guy, gal, it's really kind of getting to know them a little bit, about their personality a little bit. I think being here for 10 months already, a lot of people already have my personality down. But first things first, I think we need to acknowledge that we're standing in the Thunderbirds hangar and we got a Strike Eagle and an MRAP in here. And I think we have proper photo documentation of all this going on. But then again, like I said, I think it's all really about Face. So being alongside him for the last year, I know Face and Katie have poured their hearts and souls into here. Face didn't get a change of command coming in. Unfortunately, he's not getting one on the way out. And I feel for him, but Face, I really do know you actually are drinking a bloody in your backyard where you've been for the last 3 days. So in standard format, if he can delegate a meeting to me, he's done it over the last year. So any meeting he doesn't go to is good. And oh, by the way, he's also probably watching his clock telling me I'm talking too long already. So I'll get to it. Face, I miss you. I wish you were up here. So every time you take a guide on the Air Force, it could be your last. And when I gave the stick up, last summer in Texas, my boss had to pry it from my hands, and I was ready to go, but I didn't want to give the stick up because I thought it would be my last time. So for me, today feels a little bit surreal. So if I pause dramatically during my brief comments to take all this in, please bear with me. And I will be brief because Patty told me that if I talk too long, it'd be the only thing that anybody remembers was that I talked too long. So I guess we all need clear commander's intent. So I have a bunch of thanks to offer and a huge list of amazing civic and military partners in attendance today that I can't call out by name. And if I tried, honestly, I'd miss somebody and I'd feel bad. So to all of our partners in attendance today, thanks for coming. A huge thanks to the Warfare Center Commander, General Cunningham, for this opportunity. Patty and I are honored and humbled by this. General Pettis and Miss Pettis, General Pettis for officiating today. Thanks. We don't let vices out and speak in public very often, so sir, you nailed it. Appreciate that. General Drowley, General Havener and Miss Havener, great neighbors and friends. Thanks for coming and being here today. Appreciate it. To wing leaders from Creech, Knitter, 57th, 53rd, 505th, 926, UNLV, ABC, and so many more. Thanks to all of you for coming. You're great partners and friends. Group squadron commanders, chiefs, shirts, thanks for being here. To the men and women, our airmen in the 99th, thanks for being here today. You do a great job making Nellis a wonderful place to work, live, and play. And if you'll notice, normally we might have a military formation in the back. We didn't have a formation back. Face and I talked about it, and we opted to not because we wanted our airmen to be here because they wanted to be here, not because they were told to be here. So for those of you here today, thanks. The command chief has a banner up in her office, and it says, it's right behind her desk, it says, "I work for airmen." So I challenge men and women of the 99th to stick your head in the office over the coming months and let Chief Snyder know what we can do to better support you, because I truly feel that's why we're here. Again, to Face, Katie, Cam, Ella, and Will, we can't say thank you enough. From day one here at Nellis, we felt welcomed, like we were a part of your family. Funny story, when Face hired me into the vice job almost 2 years ago, I told him in advance I thought I'd be a terrible vice wing commander. I think I've spent 10 months showing you that, but Colonel Dyer, to you, thanks for your patience with me and for whatever part you played in making today happen. I can't say thanks enough. To my family, mom and dad in Colorado who also couldn't make it, canceled last minute based on the ugly 5-letter word that we will not speak of. But then to Patty and kids for your support, constant feedback and grounding, which are both needed and appreciated. You guys are the best. Pry me away from work early and often. I think that most people in the crowd here today would thank you for it. And finally, to the crew that put this on today, there's a bunch of work in this room, and there's a big team that did it. You guys were all over it, up right down to re-executing a new script as of yesterday. But thanks for all you did to put this on today. And then a huge thanks for letting us invade your hangar space, again, with an MRAP and a Strike Eagle, but to the Thunderbirds for hosting today's event. I truly appreciate it. So if there's one thing I've learned in the 10 months here at Nellis, is this is one busy place. The mission sets of operational tests, tactics development, and advanced training seemingly never shut off. And the sound of freedom screaming down the runway every day should remind us of the critical role that Nellis Air Force Base plays. As Faye said in his words, as so goes Nellis, so goes the Air Force. And I found that statement to be very accurate. When people ask me what the 99th Air Base Wing does, I like to reference a Nellis icon. When you come through our main gate, you look right and you see the Nellis welcome sign that has greeted people to base for many years. And on the bottom of that sign, it says, Home of the Fighter Pilot. It's several organizations that I mentioned earlier that supply the fighter pilots, but it's the 99th's job to provide them the home. I really feel it's just that simple. And in providing that home, I offer these 3 pledges from the 99th Air Base Wing. First, to our many mission partners, we're going to provide you the best home we can by listening to your needs, being transparent in our processes, and getting after it to support your missions. Second, to the men and women of Team Nellis, we're here to work for you. As I mentioned, the Command Chief's mural says I work for airmen. But my second challenge to the men and women, especially the 99th, is for you to come into my office and see what the mural says there. I think you'll detect a theme. Your leadership team is here for you, so let us know what we can do better. Send an email, stop by the office, or be an old guy like me and give me a call. We like to get after it for mission, and we're going to get after it for mission, but we're also going to get after it for people, and that's our pledge to you. And finally, to our many community partners, we're here at Nellis to do more than fly jets. We look forward to teaming and growing with you while being as collaborative and transparent of a partner as we can possibly be. Thanks for all you do to support Team Nellis and to support our United States Air Force. So in closing, thanks again for coming. We're excited to get after it with all of you. People first, mission always. Fights on.
Thank you, Colonel DeMotts. The men and women of the 99th Air Base Wing present the bouquet of flowers to Mrs. DeMotts as an official welcome. We look forward to working with you as you become an integral part of our family. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. A receiving line will be formed in the back of the hangar, and everyone is invited to stay for the reception. Thank you for attending.